First, there was Earth.
Boring! Then came Neopets.
Voice-activated Neopets.
Only on Neopets.
I'm not really sure what a jub is.
You can discover Neopet toys.
Watch out, Disney. Get ready for
Neopets.
You're telling me I got Neopets to thank for this shit? Picture this. It's 2004, you haven't started that book report that's due tomorrow, and you've just snuck onto your family's computer. What do you think you're doing? I'm asking you, why are you on the computer? It's midnight, go to bed. But you probably had one thing on your mind, Neopets. And if it wasn't, then you have missed out on one of the internet's most iconic, delightful phenomena.
the fastest growing entertainment site on the web.
From feeding weird digital pets to scamming kids in the trading post, Neopets wasn't just a game, it was a lifestyle.
I mean, it's like almost like real life.
And if you were like me, you were being forced to log in to send your aunt or aunt gifts every day. But what if I told you that behind all those weird flash games was the foundation on which many modern gachas might be built on? Neopets first launched in 1999, the same year as The Matrix and Britney Spears' Ellipses, Baby One More Time. Created by two British university students, Adam Powell and Donna Williams, who just wanted to make an online pet collector. But what they ended up with was much more than that. It was something blending the late 90s craze of creature collectors, early day virtual casinos, and basic text-based multi-user dungeons, and put it online. So you could never lose your Tamagotchi in your bed. I never did that, but you know, if you happen to find a Tamagotchi in your mattress, that was my Tamagotchi, and now it is yours, and you have to take care of him, or I will find you. Over the years, Neopets was bought and sold by several different companies and kind of turned into a corporate hot potato. But what's amazing is that many of its systems intended to, you know, just keep players engaged and on their site and coming back every day were way ahead of their time. And as we'll see, some of those ideas you might just be interacting with every day in a different way. In Neopets' prime, it was really just kind of the Wild West of weird flash games. There was no filters, no algorithm, just raw HTML, random events, and the occasional pop-up asking if you wanted to buy a pack of smileys. Well now, in 2024, it's a little different. The transition from a weird, quirky site developed by two students into a corporate product meant some big changes were going to come. Some systems evolved, like Neocash and daily quests. The core spirit of collecting random pets and gambling for daily rewards, that's been a constant. If we take a peek behind the hood of some of these modern gacha games, it really boils down to just chasing rare rewards.
There's days when once you're on, you just can't get off.
You pull for characters or weapons using in-game currency, some free, but let's be fair, usually bought. At their core, it's just a slot machine. They hook you in with random drops, exclusive events that you know aren't gonna rerun, and daily login bonuses or daily tasks that make logging in kind of feel like a ritual. But obviously that one Dragon Collection game didn't come up with these. In fact, I dare to say early gacha games that have evolved into the modern gacha genre have much simpler, humbler beginnings. Neopets was doing gacha mechanics before gacha games were doing gacha mechanics. Let's look at some early Neopets mechanics, okay? They had all sorts of randomized events. Remember when you would be strolling along Neopia and all of a sudden you'd feel a little tingle? And that's because the pant devil came down and swooped your pants and stole the thing you valued most, your dignity. And also that one thing in your backpack that you really wanted. Traumatizing, I know. But that's just one example of the randomness that kept players coming back and playing every day. Neopets also had its own version of the daily pull and daily rewards. You had random whales, you had mystery eggs, and that one giant omelet. I mean, it was just a giant pile of communal scrambled eggs. Now that I look back on it, I feel like that's where the idea for that movie, The Platform, came from. But regardless, there was just something so satisfying about logging in and getting your free slice of eggs. These daily events feel like your daily rewards now in gacha game, where you log in, you do a thing, and you get a thing. Neopets also had a lot of time-limited events, like the Advent calendar in December, where every day you would log in, you'd just get a nice free holiday reward. Sure, it was mostly trash that you're not ever gonna wanna need or use, but the potential that maybe, you know, you might log in on December 24th, Christmas Eve, and just get that thing that you're looking for. I know I didn't, but maybe you did. And events like these time-limited events, where you had to play daily, or you'd feel like you'd miss out. And that sounds familiar. And then the elephant in the room, the collecting. Neopets had all of us, if you played, on collecting rare Neopets, rare items, avatars, and more pets than you could realistically name in a single lifetime. You don't even have to think about it to realize that that's very similar to what gacha games do now with characters and weapons. Except, you know, Neopets are obviously cooler, right? Probably not. And then there's the virtual economy.
The site even has its own virtual currency, Neopoints, NP for short. Owners spend their NP on care and feeding so pets survive and thrive. Neopia even has its own virtual stock market.
Neopoints were your free-to-play currency, but then later down the line, when some corporations started to take over, they introduced Neocat, and that was your overpriced premium currency. See, the Neopets team was testing the waters with in-game currency and premium currencies since the early 2000s. Does that sound familiar? I mean, that's basically what gacha games do now too. The first bump is free, but you know, later you're gonna have to pay for it.
And it's really quite addicting.
In my humble opinion, Neopets really set the stage and laid the foundation for, again, that one Dragon Collection game. I forgot its name. That is a joke. It was called Dragon Collection. But really, Neopets' influence isn't just in the mechanics, it's in its entire philosophy. The idea of scarcity driving value, satisfaction of collecting characters or pets, and the power of daily habits. I think Hoyoverse needs to get down on 2 knees and give a proper thank you to the Neopets team for not only opening up people to these ideas in the early 2000s, but also popularizing a lot of RNG mechanics that kept us all on our toes and coming back for more.
Neopets' success reflects changes in our society.
Neopets taught us to expect the unexpected, whether that was a rare pet potion or the pant devil coming back. The surprise element just kept us coming back, logging in every day, and that is the entire backbone of the gacha industry. And then again, Neopets was way ahead of its time, popularizing in-game currency and virtual currencies.
Neopoints.
Of course they weren't the first, but they were definitely, dare I say, one of the most popular and influential games of the early 2000s that opened us up to the idea of virtual currencies like this. Back then, the idea of earning any virtual currencies, in this case Neocash or Neopoints, was kind of novel. One last thing that really helped develop their impact on early 2000s internet culture was the online communities. The guilds and forums in Neopets really helped teach developers how to build in social stickiness into games. Of course, gacha games, there isn't much of an in-game community, but more of communities that build up around the gacha games, mainly in Discord and forums. Of course, there are gacha games that do have communities built in, and mainly those involve players that are actually good at whatever game, rising up whatever leaderboard, and then you collecting the rewards for it. I know that takes you back to maybe high school or something, but I'm sorry. So if they had all of these mechanics that would eventually come to influence the gacha space, why didn't Neopets actually just turn into a gacha itself? Well, there are a couple reasons. The short answer is timing. The long answer is timing with corporate indecision and a bit of bad luck. By the time gacha games were really becoming popular in the mid to late 2010s, Neopets was already kind of a relic of early internet. Of course, its systems could have been adapted, but instead it kind of got stuck trying to maintain a lot of that nostalgia with modernization. And that's, you know, when you're halfway doing 2 things, you're not really doing one thing well. Neopets went through a lot of changes. First, there were early buyouts in 2005 by Viacom, and Viacom kind of wanted Neopets to appeal to a much more younger audience, a more mainstream audience. And while that entailed a lot more plushies and books and stuff, it also meant things were kept family friendly. Not a lot of gambling going on there. You know, a couple years later, when Jumpstart took over from Viacom, microtransactions were becoming a bit more popular and mainstream, but unlike gacha games, Neocash was mainly kept towards cosmetics, collectibles, you know, special items occasionally. Basically, Jumpstart didn't jump or start. They dipped their toes in and then stopped. And even when Neopets tried to break into the mobile space, a few times actually, they never went full on gacha. It's just part nostalgia, part hesitation. They never took that final step. But if you know where to look, Neopets is everywhere. To me, as someone who played Neopets unironically, gacha games owe a lot to Neopets, whether that's the logging in every day for rewards, the collecting of rare items, and kind of the gamification of online gambling. A lot of that came from these little pet things. You know, unfortunately, Neopets might not have the same grip and influence that it used to have on our society and internet culture. But every time you open one of those Hoyoverse games, just know that Neopets' legacy is living on because of you. They taught us how to obsess, They taught us how to collect. They taught us that you could get lucky with just one more spin. Neopets was way ahead of its time, and we've just been chasing that feeling ever since. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. Are you Tamagotchi haters? Now that you know this, I'm gonna do the Joe Biden thing, but then I'm gonna slowly transition it into Joe Biden and end with the Linkin Park song, okay? I almost stopped recording and I didn't say bye.